I want to show you something that's actually fascinating. So we've already deduced that for whatever reason, they, and by they, I'm referring obviously to Kamala's family, particularly Donald Harris and Kamala herself, are trying to pass off via a sleight of hand white Iris as black Iris, okay? I'm going to break this down again. I'm going to be real careful here. Black Iris is Iris Finnegan. He claims that Iris Finnegan, Black Iris, is Kamala's great-grandmother. She claims that it's her great-grandmother in her book, and we see no evidence of that aside from this picture, which Donald claims that he shot of Kamala sitting on her lap. I felt that Iris was the help. What we know about Iris Finnegan is that her maiden name is Allen. So she was born Aura Iris Allen Finnegan. Okay. And then she marries allegedly Patrick Finnegan and takes on the Finnegan last name. Okay. White Iris, on the other hand, was born Iris Cambridge and takes on the last name Harris. And she also has a baptismal name named Vioris. So she becomes Iris Cambridge Harris. Well, check this out. Okay. In 1958, Cynthia Cambridge and her now husband, Freemason Alvis Cambridge, arrived on a first-class ship into Miami from Jamaica. And aboard that ship was also Iris F. Harris. Now, pause. What is wrong with this? Pull it back up. What is wrong with this? Her middle initial. Why on earth? Now, it makes sense that Iris and Alves and Alves's wife are all on the ship together coming from Jamaica. They make a stop. The last port they stop at is Nassau, Bahamas, before they arrive into Miami. But why is Iris's middle initial F? She was not born. She was never married into a Finnegan family. Why did she adopt that middle initial? That's huge. It's very strange that she would have done that. Remember, Donald is alleging that Black Iris, the great-grandmother, right, at no point her last name would have been Harris, just Finnegan. She was born Iris Aura Allen, again, just reiterating that, and she became Finnegan when she got married to Patrick Finnegan. So we know that this is not her on board this ship with the Harris last name. We know for a fact that that is our white Iris who married Oscar Harris. But she never had a middle initial F. I think this is the earliest indication that she was taking on the identity of the help. I remain convinced that Miss Iris was in fact the help. Now, there's even more proof, of course, that at the very least, the bare minimum, Kamala Harris is not Black. It isn't just Janet Jackson. Funny who the media picks on and who the media stays away from, because Judge Joe Brown has the credentials. This is a person that they know is intelligent, has had a talk show on TV, I guess you could say a judge show on TV for a very long time. And many of you guys were emailing me clips of him on the show discussing the fact that he knew Kamala's father and that he just simply knows that the family is not Black. Take a listen to this first clip before we jump into the second one.
She was everybody's favorite Hindu Indian prosecutor and attorney general and senator, and now she becomes Black. But, you know, I met her daddy, fine gentleman, Professor Harris. And the problem with her being Black is Professor Harris says he's Caucasian, mixed Irish and Hindu. He doesn't have any Black ancestors, but his Irish ancestors owned a lot of slaves in Jamaica and had them to work on plantation. So if Mama is on the birth certificate listed as a Caucasian, Daddy says he's a Caucasian Hindu and has no Black ancestors, how did she get to be Black?
I mean, the math is not mathing. How did she become Black? It doesn't make sense. Okay? It only makes sense if you stole the identity of the help, which is so sick, so twisted, so diabolical, so offensive that we demand a response to this. Like I said, if a single Black person is okay with this and votes for her because the media simply decided to make her Black, to essentially wave a little Harry Potter wand and go, oh, okay, we just need you to be Black because we need those Black votes, right? Who is this woman? Two parents that were committed communists. Who is this woman? And that's not all Judge Joe Brown had to say in the matter of Kamala Harris. Take a listen.
And the birth certificate that she has is interesting because the confusion comes from a mistake. On the birth certificate, it lists the mother's race as Caucasian, national origin India, and religion Hindu. For the father, it does not list national origin. It does not list religion. It does not list anything about that, but where it says race, they put national origin in Jamaica by mistake. Now, if you've ever been to Jamaica and you go over to St. Elizabeth Parish, you see all the high, bright, and white that live in Jamaica. So I've got a good friend retired from law enforcement. He has a white wife, blonde-haired, blue eyes, but she was born in Jamaica. Her parents were born in Jamaica. One's blonde and blue-eyed, the other one's red-haired and gray-eyed. And they happen to be related to the King of England because they are aristocrats in England, but they were born in Jamaica. It's not unusual. You're not black just because you're from Jamaica, and they have a whole lot of white people that never left, and their ancestors owned a lot of slaves. The Maroons went up into the hill country and got themselves free back in the 1840s, but, you know, other than that, it is what it is in Jamaica. So just because you're from that country does not mean you are of the black race. So the problem is why don't you go get your daddy to give you an affidavit that you have a black ancestor? And since the only possible claim you have is through your great-grandmother, who he says was a Hindu house servant that just happens to be swarthy, where'd you get your blackness from? See, you're faking it again.
Hindu house servant is what they are alleging that Iris was. And I am telling you, the fact that I just picked up on that and a vibe in a picture, do not tell me women do not have good gut instincts. I was just like, there's just something about the photo. It just wasn't loving. It felt very much like the help who got close with the kids but didn't want to be too close to the kids because, you know, you never know when the mom's going to get upset because you're too close to the kids, kind of a kid situation. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? A lot of this stuff is just common sense, but it's just not that common anymore. People are just like, I cannot believe my own eyes. I need to read the media. And CNN says that she's Jamaican. And then people were just confused. Like, they were literally asking the question, she was in Jamaica. How can you say that she's not black? How can you even ask me this question? Like, where is your common sense? If I up and move to Sweden, I get to suddenly say I'm white? What's wrong with you guys? I mean, this is like common sense. Of course, there are white people in Jamaica. There are white people everywhere. There are white people in Africa. Does not make them black. Elon Musk is not a strong black man. As much as I would love for him to be able to say he's a strong black man to really upset the left, that's just not the circumstance. It is no version of reality that we exist in. And so this is fascinating. This is fascinating because this shows you a tremendous character flaw that we are stumbling upon. So by the way, everything he just said makes complete sense if our suspicions are correct, right? Iris Cambridge is Irish. She is. And Oscar Harris is mixed Irish. That would make Donald Harris majority white. So if Kamala has a majority white father and an allegedly fully Indian mother, who I have my suspicions about, but I'm still taking my time to investigate her mother. I know I promised you that would be today, but I just want to dot my I's and cross my T's. Then that would make her indeed Indian Irish, just as Judge Joe Brown recalls. And again, this would be such an easy thing for Donald J. Harris to speak out against. So you have two educated people. He'd be like, hey, Judge Joe Brown, what are you talking about? Why are you lying? Do you really think a judge would go on air and say all of those things, risking his reputation, his professional reputation, by just lying boldly? And to what end, by the way? Why would Judge Joe Brown, right? Just, again, common sense. Let's invoke a little bit of common sense here. Why would Judge Joe Brown want to come out and claim that he knew that Donald J. Harris was not black? Why would he come out and claim that Kamala Harris was not black? How does that serve anything? He would want her to be black, right? He would love the idea of the first black female president. This is sick and this is disturbing. But by the way, just speaking of that genealogy, speaking of the very likely conclusion that she is majority Irish, that Donald J. Harris is majority Irish, it would also explain why the aforementioned Chris Harris, who signed off on Oscar Harris's death certificate as his son, that's him. These people look like Kamala's relatives. This would be Donald J. Harris's brother, who he intentionally chose not to mention in his piece, probably because, oh, we're trying to make everybody think that Kamala is black. We need the help. We don't need the actual relatives. And this would be an actual relative. That man is extremely light. That man looks like he could be majority white, just as all of the documentation that we have is pointing to. That man would be the son of Iris Harris, who stole that middle initial for whatever reason and became Iris F. Harris on a ship manifest.